Hello everybody, Rusted Ground here, and welcome back to another Codex episode. We haven't had this one in a while, this type of content in a while, and we got quite a lot of Codex entries that we need to go through, so let's cut to the chase and do this. We're going to start, of course, with the primary Codex entries, and then we're going to move to the secondary Codex entries. So let's start with the Aliens Non-Council Races.
In the early 2160s, the Alliance...
And go to Praetorians.
The Crow, hovering tanks resembling a cross between an octopus and a giant crab. Praetorians are well-armored killing machines of mysterious origin. Praetorians employ redundant systems from the multiple humans encased within them. Armed with eye-mounted particle beams and capable of attacks at close range, they teleport to evade attack while regenerating their shields. Within hours after death, the organic components of Praetorian corpses disintegrate into a denatured pus, while their mechanisms turn to ash. One specimen, autopsied within minutes of death, reveals a clue. Nanomachines may disintegrate the Praetorians' organic and mechanical components before self-destructing. If correct, this self-rendering hypothesis could account for 3 documented cases of dead Praetorians apparently releasing or becoming clouds of neurotoxic gases, causing suffocating paralysis and nearly instant death. In one remote facility, 17 soldiers died from gas inhalation while assessing the Praetorian. Any personnel in the vicinity of dead Praetorians are urged to protect themselves with breathing apparatus.
Okay, so these guys, we encountered them in the Horizon mission, if I remember correctly. And they are pretty damn fierce. Yeah, and pretty hard to take down. So, interesting to know, to find out more about them. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, do we have anything else around here? No, we don't have anything else around here, so I'm going to move on to organizations.
Immediately founded by notorious Praetorian slaver Solum Dulcera, the Blue Suns began as a Skillian Verge protection racket, providing genuine protection from slavers and pirates. Eventually captured by the Systems Alliance Navy, Dulcera beat almost 24 charges to be convicted on a single count of conspiracy. The slaver benefited from the tutelage of cellmate and brilliant con artist Bernard Legit's Ledger. Upon release 5 years later, Dulcera incorporated Blue Suns as a legal security agency. Today, the Blue Suns boast a galaxy-wide force of Batarians, Turians, humans, and Krogan. Each deployment is backed by a logistics corps, selling everything from heavy weapons to shaving cream. Despite claims that Blue Suns sells its captives as slaves, no Blue Suns employee has ever been convicted on such charges. Many Blue Suns members sport the company logo in tattoo form, removed during assignments and reapplied at mission end.
Okay, so now we know about the Blue Suns. They seem to be everywhere, from what I've seen so far. I mean, yeah, they everywhere we went, there was some form of a Blue Sun cell or something like that. Even on the prison ship where we freed Jack, that was run by the Blue Suns. And the fact that the guy there wanted to take us hostage, yeah, that's kind of contradicting here with what they say that. I mean, not contradicting, but like it says here that despite claims that the Blue Sun sells its captives as slaves, no Blue Sun's employee has ever been convicted of that. But it looks like that's what they're doing, or at least that's the impression that I get, or that I got so far. Okay, moving on to planets and locations.
Before the Geth Revolt 300 years ago, the Quarians colonized Haestrom to study the mysterious instability of its sun, which threatened premature eruption into a red giant. As a scientific outpost of minimal military value, Haestrom was ill-equipped to repel Geth forces during the insurrection and fell quickly under their control. Captured Geth planetary survey data indicates that despite sustaining damage during the war, Haestrom's architecture remains as it was 300 years ago, preserving a Quarian architectural style that no longer exists anywhere else in the galaxy. Because Haestrom's sun has overwhelmed the planet's protective magnetosphere, humans foolhardy enough to venture into Geth-controlled Haestrom must exercise extreme caution. Minutes of radiation exposure will overload shields, and hours of exposure will kill. Furthermore, solar output renders surface-to-orbit communication nearly impossible.
Okay, so the Haestrom is where we found Tali, and you've seen how dangerous the sun is there. Now we're going to move on to Horizon, and then we're going to see a little bit of information about Corliss. So, yeah, Horizon was one of the hardest missions, from my point of view, that we had so far.
A typical terminus colony possessing minimal tourist value, Horizon promises substantial economic opportunity, especially in providing new products for humans and supplying a Turian hierarchy. Surveyed 18 years ago, Horizon received pilot habitation 4 years later. The colony proper is now 8 years old. Blessed with verdant forests and abundant fresh water, Horizon maintains a colonial culture that thrives as a refuge from the increasing restrictions of Citadel-governed society. Horizon has attracted numerous dissidents, marginal people, and fringe dwellers from across Alliance space.
Okay, and now last but not least, Corliss.
Known as the Starcraft Cemetery, Corliss was the regional toxic junkyard for centuries. Ships reaching astronautical near-death at connecting mass relays were sent to Corliss, stripped of every useful component, then dumped planetward to clear shipping lanes. Currently, Corliss hosts numerous merc factions, such as the Blue Suns, rumored to be using downed ship fossils to test advanced munitions. Massive gun batteries threaten anyone attempting planetfall, with minimal defenses against ground attack. Because ancient volcanism greenhoused the planet, Corliss was too hot and CO2 rich to develop a biosphere, despite the abundant lakes that could have sponsored the development of life. Now cool enough for protected habitation, but too scorching for anyone but extremophiles and mercenaries seeking secrecy, Corliss supports numerous Krogan outposts. The Krogan have therefore seeded Corliss with hardy Varen, often kept as warhounds. Varen live primarily on a diet of geophagous vermin and each other.
Great. Well, we didn't really meet any more Krogan. This is the planet where we got Grunt from. The only Krogans that we met there, I mean the only Krogan that we saw and spoke to was one that was created by Overlord Okir. And the ones that we fought, again, they were artificially created, right? But we did meet the Blue Suns. Again, they're everywhere. Okay, let's move on to ships and vehicles. Let's do that.
Asari-made Solaris Armor can the Systems Alliance. Asari-made Solaris Armor can resist even the tremendous heat and kinetic energy of starship weapons. The armor is nearly unsurpassed in strength because its central material, carbon nanotube sheets woven with diamond chemical vapor deposition, are crushed by mass effect fields into super-dense layers able to withstand extreme temperatures. That process also compensates for diamond's brittleness. Diamond armor itself has two limiting disadvantages. First, while nanotubes and CVD diamond construction has become cheaper in recent years, it remains prohibitively expensive to coat starships or aircraft larger than fighters in Solaris material. Second, the armor must be attached to the ship's superstructure, so shockwaves from massive firepower can still destroy the metals beneath the armor itself. A popular misconception holds that the diamond composition of Solaris armor gives it its sparkle. In fact, atmospheric nitrogen impurities during the superhot forging process give the armor its metallic gray or yellow sheen.
Okay, this entry we got because we upgraded the Normandy with this armor. So I'm expecting to see more Codex entries once we upgrade the Normandy even more.
The Collector's particle beam weapon is strangely crafted, possessing few moving parts, lacking any obvious means for disassembly, and containing organic parts. The amount of energy required to create a destructive beam is several orders of magnitude more than the energy required to launch a physical projectile at high velocity via a mass effect field. Lacking any clear ammunition or fuel source, the device likely uses heat sinks or compensators to maintain firing during sustained combat. Current Cerberus efforts to understand the technology and replicate it have failed.
And this is the gun that we got from the Collectors on the Horizon mission, and it's a pretty cool gun, as you've seen. It's very effective against shields and barriers and stuff like that, so yeah, we're gonna keep it for now. It looks weird though, but I guess this is the look it got because it's not human-made, so to say, or man-made. It's of alien technology, so yeah. Okay, so these were the primary entries in our codex that we had to go through. Now let's move on to the secondary entries, and I think, yeah, we have quite a few. Okay, so moving on to Allies non-council races. The Collectors. Did we read about the Collectors? I think we read about the Collectors, right? Let's read again. I don't remember though if we read or not. Okay, let's go through the Collectors first. Cerberus xenobiologists believed that until recently that the Collectors were coordinated by a biotically active caste, similar with other insectoid alien species. New evidence suggests the Collectors have a singular commander, a so-called Collector General. Yeah, which we saw. The Collector General was the one that could control some of them, I presume. Okay, the so-called Collector General that has never been seen on the battlefield. Instead, it selects its minions as remote platforms for its consciousness in a process that has been linked to a biological hack or a cybernetic version of demonic possession. Yep, yeah, we saw that. The Collector General can send a secure signal to any one of its minions, smoothly take control of their motor functions, and awaken their previously dormant biotic potential in a matter of seconds. Even the lowliest Collector drone can be upgraded to a battle-hardened biotic commander. If the Collector dies, the General can simply activate and control another body. Post-mortem analysis reveals that this command signal relies on cybernetic implants directly installed on the Collector's cerebellumus. Sorry, my bad. So, installed in the Collector's cerebellumus. But how the technology functions is presently unknown. Coordinating sensory input and motor functions simultaneous with remotely amplifying biotic abilities is beyond the grasp of current human science. Why such an advanced species would be interested in humans is puzzling. More disturbing still, victims of the Collector say the General has spoken to them and referred to itself by a human name, Harbinger. Okay. We definitely didn't read this before because this entry is from after the... what's it called? Horizon mission, right? Okay, Krogan biology. I think that was the next one that we had to go to. The Krogan evolved in a lethal ecology. Over millions of years, the Grimm struggled to survive larger predators, virulent disease, and resource scarcity on their homeworld, Tuchanka, turned the lizards into quintessential survivors. Perhaps the most telling indicator of Tuchanka's lethality is the Krogan eyes. Although they are a predator species by any standard definition, their eyes evolved to be wide set, as in earth prey species like deer and cattle. Krogan eyes have a 240-degree arc of vision, better suited for spotting enemies sneaking up on them than for pursuit. Physically, the Krogan are nigh indestructible, with a tough hide impervious to any melee weapon short of a molecular blade. While they feel pain, it does not affect their ability to concentrate. They have multiple functioning examples of all major organs and can often survive the loss of one or two of any type. Rather than a nervous system, they have an electrically conductive second circulatory system. A Krogan can never be paralyzed. They may lose some of its fluid some of this fluid, but it can be replaced by the body in time. The hump on the Krogan's back stores water and fats that keep the Krogan survive lean times. Large humps are a point of pride. Being well fed implies the Krogan is a superior predator. Yeah, we definitely read this before, but I'm still going to go through it. The most widely known biological feature of the Krogan is their incredible birth rate and rapid maturity. Once freed from the hostile cauldron of Tuchanka, the Krogan population swelled into a numberless horde. Only the genophage kept them from outbreeding the combined council races. Now, the rare Krogan females capable of bringing a child to term are treated like strategic resources. Warlords will trade them at diplomacy or, more frequently, fight wars over them. Okay, moving on to Krogan Blood Rage. Feared throughout the galaxy as nightmarishly violent warriors, the Krogan are both aided and hobbled by their legendary Blood Rage. In the grip of the madness, Krogan become seemingly invincible but are merely totally unresponsive to pain. Blood-enraged Krogan fight regardless of injury level, to the extent that Krogan shorn of all 4 limbs continue gnashing past brain death until total somatic death. Damn. This sounds like the bloodlust. Like the bloodlust from the orcs. Nice. The supremely resilient, hyperviolent blood rage is the synergy of 2 aspects of Krogan neurology. The first aspect is a positive feedback loop in which adrenaline, also activated by fear or rage, surpasses serotonin, the brain chemical that induces serenity. The second is the overdeveloped Krogan limbic system. In Krogan, as in humans, fear or rage shifts mental control from the frontal lobes responsible for reasoning to the limbic system responsible for aggression and survival. During that shift, Krogan and humans exhibit diminished capacity for logic and self-control. Yeah, it's the flight or fight thing. Prior to the ecological devastation of Tuchanka, blood rage was extremely rare among the Krogan. Back then, while all Krogan were capable of heightened anger, and violence in fight or flight scenarios, here we go, almost none experienced insensitivity to pain. The 1% who did were those suffering serotonin suppression. At that time, Krogan society regarded the condition as pathological and medicated or imprisoned sufferers to protect them and society. Following nuclear ecocide 4 millennia ago, evolution selected only those Krogan affected with blood rage for survival. Today, there is no living memory among the Krogan of a life without mindless, murderous fury. Shout. That's cool. Very interesting. Okay, so that's all about the non-council races. Moving on to aliens, non-sapient creatures, and Husks, Scions. Okay, we've seen a Scion or 2 on the Horizon mission, right? They are these bulky things that look like a bunch of husks mashed into one another, right? Though the exact fate of specimens of species captured by the collectors is unclear, the humanoid appearance of the Scions gives ghastly clues. The Scion's frame and skull are similar to those of a human or a Sari, but the bone structure is overlaid with a metallic resin. Posthumous examination of their bodies reveals a skin tone resembling that of Reaper husks, but their transformation process seems more extensive. Like husks, they are cybernetically modified on a nanoscale, so they can operate even in hard vacuum. Hoses rather than veins and muscle tissue join major portions of the body together. One arm is replaced with a construct that fits a large rifle, turning the creature into a humanoid weapon platform, and a fleshy sack is supported by the creature's back and head. These sacks contain brain matter and spinal tissue, too much to have come from just one victim. This indicates Scions are an amalgam of several individuals, with one primary victim providing the frame and several secondaries providing the flesh for the decentralized semi-mechanical nervous system. This decentralization makes them highly resistant to gunshot wounds. Even a headshot is not a certain kill. Great. The Scions' weapons, however, indicate that Scions retain some living tissue or at least sustain some of the same electrochemical reactions as those of a human biotic. The weapon creates a powerful warp effect, which is consistent with the ESO nodules visible in the Scion expansive nervous system. Given the rarity of human biotics, it seems likely that these dust-form ESO nodules are deposited during their transformation rather than requiring a biotic victim in the first place. Shit, yeah, they sound nasty. They sound really nasty, and they are nasty. What else do we have here? Planets and locations. Purgatory. Originally an ARC ship designated to carry agricultural animals, the Purgatory was taken by the Blue Suns mercenary company during a large-scale battle in the Skyllian Verge. In a years-long reconstruction of its interior, the Blue Suns repurposed it to hold sapient prisoners, supposedly because they captured so many in their conflicts throughout the galaxy. When media outlets started investigating claims that the ship was used for slaving operations, the Blue Suns turned a public relations nightmare into a regular income source. Okay. Claiming to be in full accordance with the Citadel law, the crew of Purgatory now regularly lands on planets or space stations, claiming that they can no longer hold their prisoners because of cost overruns. To avoid keeping prisoners under inhumane conditions, they will have to release them at the nearest port, dumping the scum of the galaxy directly into the local population. Wow, that's great. Faced with such a scenario, the government usually grants Purgatory's crew massive discounts in fuel, food, and repairs as long as they go away. Some even offload their own prisoners to Purgatory for a fee, grateful to have a problem relocated somewhere other than their backyard. Such unfortunates go in the dark depths of the ship, never to be seen again by their families or contacts. Purgatory is minimally armed with Guardian defenses. Though a cruiserweight ship, it relies on the Blue Suns fighters to prevent any attacks bent on a jailbreak or similar events. Yeah, that's a good strategy to basically tell other people that, we got too many prisoners, man, and we gotta let them out, and we're gonna let them out on your little planet over here, so what you gonna do about it? Of course they're gonna pay up so that they don't become the dump sites for these very nasty prisoners. Yeah, interesting. Cool, moving on to ships and vehicles. Starship frigates. Frigates are light escorts and scouts, often possessing extensive Guardian systems, providing anti-fighter screening for capital ships, and crewed with a squad of Marines for security and ground-side duty. Unlike larger vessels, frigates can land on planets. The most important role filled by frigates is reconnaissance. Sensors, unlike ships and communications, employing the mass effect, are limited to the speed of light. Therefore, a stationary observer can detect a vessel a light year away only when its light arrives a year later. Because faster-than-light attackers always arrive before defenders can detect them with luminal sensors, attackers can always surprise defenders. For defense, fleets surround themselves with spheres of scouting frigates, scanning for enemy ships and transmitting warnings to the main body. Frigates achieve high FTL cruise speeds because of their high-performance drives. They also have proportionally larger thrusters and lighter design mass, allowing them greater maneuverability. In combat, speed and maneuverability makes frigates immune to long-range fire of larger vessels. In fleet combat, frigates are organized into wolfpack flotillas of 4 to 6. Wolfpacks speed through enemy formations, hunting enemy vessels whose kinetic barriers have been taken down by fighter-launched disruptor torpedoes. Wolfpack circled strafes vulnerable targets using superior speed and maneuverability to evade return fire. Alliance frigates are named for great battles in human history. Okay, that is cool. Disruptor torpedoes are powered projectiles with warheads that create random and unstable mass effect fields when triggered. These fields warp space-time in localized areas. The rapid asymmetrical mass changes cause the targets to rip itself apart. In flight, torpedoes use a mass-increasing field, making them too huge for enemy kinetic barriers to repel. Because extra mass retards acceleration, torpedoes are easy prey for defense guardian weapons and must therefore be launched at extremely close range to be effective. To prevent damage to the parent craft, torpedoes must be cold-launched, meaning they are released before their thrusters ignite. Aligning with its target's trajectory, a fighter releases a torpedo and immediately thrusts away, while the torpedo continues to coast towards its target. After the fighter is clear, no more than a second after launch, the torpedo activates its mass field and thrusters away from the fighter and towards its target. Torpedoes are the main anti-ship weapon used by fighters. Launched at point-blank range in ripple-fire waves, they are reminiscent of the ancient Calliope rocket artillery launchers, thus their popular nickname Callies. By saturating defensive guardian systems with multiple targets, at least a few torpedoes will get through. Cool. Weapon, the Javelin. The Javelin is an experimental close assault weapon fitted on a handful of New Alliance warships. It consists of a rack of 2 or more disposable disruptor torpedo tubes, bolted or magnetically slung onto the exterior of a ship's armored hull. Fired on converging trajectories, the torpedoes detonate in a precisely timed sequence that allows the warhead's dark energy to resonate and thereby magnify the resulting space-time warp effects. Like fighter-launched torpedoes, javelins are cold-launched for safety reasons, though they use a different approach. Resembling old-fashioned submarine torpedo tubes, javelin torpedoes come packed in individual sealed tubes filled with compressed inert gas. Opening the front of the tube causes escaping gases to push the torpedo into the vacuum, releasing the puff of crystals around the mouth of the tube. After completely clearing the tube, the torpedo ignites its thrusters. Javelin mounts are most often fitted on swift frigates, which enter knife fight torpedo ranges as a matter of course. Javelins may also be fitted on heavier ships for short-range engagements such as trans-relay assaults. They are particularly useful on this role for dreadnoughts, which cannot lay their main guns on close-range targets. As missile weapons, javelins are subject to highly accurate defensive guardian fire. They must be launched in large numbers and at short range to have any chance of hitting their target at all. Okay, moving on to mass accelerators. Mass accelerators propel solid metal slugs via electromagnetic attraction and repulsion. A slug lightened by a mass effect field can be accelerated to extremely high speeds, permitting previously unattainable projectile velocities. The primary determinant of a mass accelerator's destructive power is length. The longer the barrel, the longer the slug can be accelerated, the higher the slug's final velocity, and therefore the greater its kinetic impact. Slugs are designed to squash or shatter on impact, increasing the energy they transfer to its target. Without collapsibility, slugs would punch through their targets while inflicting only minimal damage. Rather than being mounted on the exterior, starship guns are housed inside hulls and visible only as gun portholes from outside. The ship's main gun is a large spinal mount weapon running 90% of the hull's length. Jesus. While possessing destructive power equal to that of tactical nuclear weapons, main guns are difficult to aim. Because ships must be able to point their bows almost directly at their targets, main guns are best used for long-range bombardment fire. Approximately 40% of the hull's width, broadside guns inflict less damage and can be mounted with greater numbers and more flexibility. The modern human Kilimanjaro-class dreadnoughts mount 3 decks with 26 broadside accelerators apiece for a total salvo weight of 78 slugs per side, firing once every 2 seconds. Wow. However, mass accelerators produce recoil equal to their impact energy. While the mass effect fields suspending the rounds mitigate the recoil shock can still rattle crews and damage systems. This is some very, very detailed information, I feel, and I just love it. I love the way the people that wrote this information, man, it's so scientifical. I mean, that's how I feel it is. Cool. Okay, what do we have here? Was it the Argus planet scan technology? The Argus provides a qualitative leap in planetary surface imaging, a proprietary technology of the Android Group, an RRD laboratory reportedly owned by Cerberus. This upgrade for Normandy's sensory array delivers superior long-range topographical scanning resolution and rendering speed. Okay, so this is the the mining upgrade, right? The probing or whatever it's called. By deploying an orbital multi-stratic grid of 100 radar-emitting microsatellites, the Argus quickly delivers a global digital elevation model, or DEM, at 15 meters per pixel. MPP, okay. A resolution, vastly outclassing the Normandy's previous scanner peak performance of 27 MPP. Such imaging quality provides superior defensive intelligence and at a speed warranted by the dangers of combat. At slower scanning and rendering speed, the Argus can resolve down to an astonishing 0.001 MPP, 1 millimeter per pixel, ideal for geological and biological prospecting, archaeological research, and long-term security surveillance. By employing such a massive multitask grid of nearly untraceable micro-emitters, the resilient Argus is virtually invulnerable to electronic countermeasures. The spherical geometry of the Argus grid also allows superior cross-sectioning of targets. Cool, I cannot wait to use this. Okay then, and last but not least, the Master Thief Kasumi's secrets. What? Okay. Gray boxes. A mnemonic neurological... I think we read this. Yeah. Let's go to planet Beckenstein. More glittering than diamonds, more expensive than surgery, is how travel agents describe the planet behind closed doors. Given the opportunity to colonize planets after the First Contact War, the Systems Alliance chose Beckenstein to be their trading arm, producing goods to be sold on the nearby Citadel. Cracking the vast galactic marketplace proved difficult. The first human products sold on novelty alone, then lack of demand hit Beckenstein's economy hard. Only in the second generation of colonists did the planet find a sustainable niche in high-quality entertainment and luxury goods. Once brand awareness sunk in, aliens flocked to Beckenstein's many spaceports. The planet today boasts more millionaires and billionaires per capita than any other human colony. Though its crime tends to be white-collar and non-violent, Beckenstein is not without its dark side. Both its suicide rate and inflation are extremely high compared to other worlds. Unemployment is artificially low because few people immigrate to the expensive planet without having a job lined up. And the cost of living is so great that unemployed workers typically leave for kinder planets after just a few months. Those who stay see themselves as tougher, sharper, and more skillful than the rest, as well as capable of getting respect and employment on any lesser planet. As a popular song says, if you can make it on the Beck, you got them by the neck. Okay, I presume this is a reference to if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right? From New York, is it? That's what it reminds me. Anyway. Okay, so that's it. These are all the entries that we had in the Codex. So now we should go back to some action, right? Thanks for listening to this video or watching it. Yeah, thanks for all the feedback, for all the support. Give a like to this video if you enjoyed it. Give a dislike if you didn't. Also, let me know in the comments down below what you think. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.